A lot of people are asking the question, is the Liver King, aka Brian Johnson, natural or is he enhanced? In today's session, we're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Liver King here. We just finished butchering the cow, and because I'm the Liver King, and because liver is king, we're going to take a bite out of it. What up, Primals? Liver Queen says, dinner will be ready in 10 minutes. Liver King here. Modern day fluffy beds that look good, like this one, are laden with polyesters, plastics, and petrochemicals.
I feel like I can be pretty honest about this because, as many of you know, I've used anabolic steroids in the past. In college, I've actually made them, and I've helped way long ago, over 25 years ago, some football players get on them because I was in that circle. So I've seen people's bodies transform, and I've seen some different hallmarks when people start using anabolics. So I'll just help you to decide for yourself whether or not, because so many people, it's crazy. There's forums, there's chat rooms, there's a lot of people on Instagram wanting to know this sensation, Liver King. He is the founder of Ancestral Supplements, and to be honest, the libertarian in me doesn't really care, you know, because he's not suggesting that if you eat like our ancestors did and have organ meats and bone marrow and fish and raw liver, if you eat like that, you're going to look like me. He's not selling you that. He's just saying if you omit some of the modern hyperpalatable ultra-processed foods from your diet and eat more like our ancestors, your health will improve. And we can't argue with that. We've seen many people over the years, going back to Lauren Cordain and the paleo diet in the 2007 type range. When I got into this, we've seen many people's health and various diseases become ameliorated by eating that way. So that's what he's promoting. He's also doing, I think, a really good service by talking about sleep, by talking about walking barefoot, by being in nature, by exercising outdoors, getting vitamin D. So I think overall his message has a much greater net benefit than a net negative if people are concerned and quibbling over whether or not he's enhanced or not. Now, with that being said, I want to help you understand the lens through which I view people to decide whether or not they are natural or enhanced. And there's a few things to look out for, and this is just good to know. So the number one thing you want to look for is stretch marks. And so what you can see here, particularly around where the bicep inserts around the chest, okay? Frequently, and of course, this is not a 100% guarantee. If you see stretch marks right here, it's not a sure thing that someone has used PEDs, but it's highly probable or likely because these stretch marks generally occur when people put on a lot of weight fast. Now, that being said, several football players that I played with in high school, once they started lifting weights and bulking out, they started to get a little bit of a stretch mark. But what you can see is if we zoom in on this picture with Liver King, super funny. I think he's a cool guy, right? I'm not criticizing here, but you can see here pretty obvious stretch marks in this area. So that to me is just a little bit of a giveaway that perhaps, and again, I'm not suggesting that he's on massive amounts of anabolics, but I would bet pretty serious money that he's on minimum HRT level dosages, which again, at 44, I might be on HRT too, right? So just if my hormones are in the gutter, I'm not preserving my lean muscle mass, if I'm feeling lethargic, I'm going to optimize my hormone levels. And I think you should too. I mean, there's something to be said about people being natty their entire life, but life when you're on testosterone is actually much more enjoyable. And this is, I think, if you look at the whole gender dysphoric movement and all these young teenagers who are kind of confused, you can see on the chat rooms and why I think there's such a big interest in this whole transgender thing is because once people get on testosterone, they get more confident. Their life can improve. Now, of course, there's a lot of negative downsides, and I'm not suggesting this in any way, shape, or form for young women at all or young men because it can affect growth plates and things like that. But however, if you are deficient in testosterone, it does affect your mood and affect. So nothing wrong with HRT level dosages, but I would be surprised if he's not on, say, 150 milligrams or 200 milligrams of testosterone a week. Now, another red flag here is water retention. So it's kind of hard to tell with his beard, but when you go on testosterone, even on these HRT level dosages, 150 milligrams up to say 300 milligrams a week, which is kind of borderline a cycle, if you think about a steroid cycle, i.e. when you get over 200, 250 milligrams a week, you're really sort of blasting in a sense, like you're not just cruising. You're starting to get some pretty anabolic levels in your body. You start to see water retention. So what you would see here is puffiness in the cheeks a little bit, and his muscles. You see muscles start to appear fuller. Estrogen retains water. So that could be part of what's going on here. Now, if we look here, just to compare and contrast Liver King with someone who has admittedly used steroids in the past, and that is Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can see this, sort of front bicep pose. You can see Arnold here, really full pecs, full chest. And so that, of course, is a little bit more of an exaggeration of what someone might look like if they're on, say, testosterone and DECA potentially, or maybe a bit of D-ball here. But you can see here that fullness in the muscle, that is a characteristic of anabolics, right? So that's just what you see here. It's more of it's very aesthetically attracting, and this is why bodybuilders, do PEDs and things like that. But that fullness that you see in the muscles, especially when you see fullness paired with vascularity. And so that's, I think, the giveaways. When you see really full muscles plus vascularity, that to me is a red flag. Again, you're looking at all sorts of if it walks like a duck, swims like a duck, quacks like a duck, it's going to be a duck, right? So those are the things that I sort of look for. And if we look here at even other bodybuilders here's Kevin Levrone. So of course, Kevin is one of these sort of classic physiques, that many of us, the late 90s, early 2000s would remember. So the last time Kevin guest posed here, so you can sort of see here a few giveaways. And again, he's been using steroids for like 25, 30 years. A few things that you see here is you see that fullness plus vascularity. Okay, you see in his bicep, you see that big vein. You also see here the traps and the big Canonball Delts. Those are really sort of strong giveaways that there is some extracurricular activities going on in the form of PEDs. So that really big round delt, and then plus the massive trap. If we go back to Arnold, everyone knows Arnold did some DECA, did some D-ball he talked about, and testosterone. So very similar here. You see the round delts, a lot of vascularity, and then you see that massive trap. And it's not just the trap that's there. It's a trap is really sort of distinguishable from the rest of the clavicle, and it really pops. And so very few people have that sort of naturally. That can be, you can develop your traps, no question. I'm not saying you can't build traps naturally, but these are just things that you generally start to see when you start to involve anabolics into the picture. And so if we go back to Liver King, again, I'm not picking on him. I'm just telling you, just saying it how it is. It's calling a spade a spade. What you see here is that very similar characteristic look. You see the Canonball Delts, you see the traps, and then you also see the striations in the pectorals or the chest. And so that to me, paired with the fact here, again, he trains hard. You can tell by this physique. Got a great physique, not taking anything away. There's a lot of people that, by the way, that crush 300 to 600 milligrams of tests and do not look like this dude. So he's pairing whatever he's doing something very right. So you can't take anything away from the guy. But I'm just simply trying to ask the question that many people want to know: is he natty or not? And I'm going to put my money in. And not just a little enhanced. I don't think he's on 7 different compounds, but potentially some test and maybe a little Anavar, a little Tren, I would guess, but I can't say for sure. But so what you see here again, going back to the his chest, you see all that striation there, and really nice differentiation between the bicep and the chest, and then you see also his serratus anterior. So these are things that obviously you get through training, but you get through being very lean, which he is. Then another thing that I think is quite interesting, because there are football players who are just elite athletes that just have genetics that are just like the top 1% of society. You can see DK Metcalf comes to mind because I live here in Seattle. So you see him with his shirt off and you're just like, holy crap, that guy's like amazingly fit, jacked. He's in the top 1%. But you see a lot of symmetry with his lower body and his upper body. And so this is what you don't really see here, with all due respect to the Liver King. Massive upper body, massive chest, massive shoulders and biceps, and pretty skinny legs. And so if he was in that 1% category where he's just a genetic freak and puts on all this muscle, you would expect a little bit more symmetry in the upper and lower body, like you do see with some of these football players who are just freaks of nature, right? You see a lot of symmetry. You don't really see that. So I think that's another sort of red flag to me is, I would expect sweeping quads and big old calves. Generally what I see, and I just remember this from playing football with guys and just looking at people's physiques over the years. A lot of the guys that have these massive traps, from playing football, they also have these huge calves. That generally not as a rule that applies to 100% of people, but what you see here is these kind of stockier people that just get big arms, big traps. They generally have big old legs as well. You're not seeing that. So that being said, just in summary, if anyone claims they're natty, right, and you suspect this, what are some things that you can take away from this video so that you can have conversations with friends or family? Because there's a lot of bodybuilders, there's a lot of people that say, oh yeah, I'm totally natty. And you're like, I'm not really sure. First thing's the stretch marks, right? So you see a lot of stretch marks right here. You see stretch marks in the bicep. You might even see them around the lats because people start to gain a lot of weight quick. Their lats grow. You might start to see them right here. Injuries like they tear their bicep, tear their chest, tear their pec. They tear their quad squatting, right? These are giveaways that, yeah, maybe they're putting on a lot of weight very quickly and are having challenges there. So stretch marks, major injuries like that. And then you want to look for those cannonball delts, right? Where the delts really start to, have that cannonball look with the cannonball traps. And then when you see very lean, but full muscles with vascularity. So there's a difference, right? When people are like the surfer type guys, rock climbers, bikers, runners, they're very lean, they have flat muscles, and they're vascular. They don't have those big full muscles. So big full muscles plus vascularity is a little bit of that's more of an enhanced type of look. So again, those are the things I look for, and then the water retention. So you might see thick neck and then chubby cheeks from the estrogen, right? Water follows estrogen, so that's what you're going to see there. So yeah, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I will just say, irrespective of whether or not there is some anabolics going on here, he's doing a lot of things right. Like I said, I know a ton of people that have wrecked their health, literally wrecked their health, and now have all sorts of health issues, cranking testosterone up to 500 milligrams a week, pairing that with all sorts of ancillary drugs, kicking it off with orals, whether it's Winstrol, whether it's D-bol, Anadrol, cranking Finna or Tren, and do not have a physique like this, right? So you have a combination, probably really good nutrition, really good genetics, and whether or not there is some sort of extracurriculars there, that's only going to enhance the hard training and the good nutrition. So we can't take anything away here. The other thing is we have to think about the messaging. Okay, it's one thing for people to say, buy my diet program, put on 20 pounds of muscle, you'll look like me. It's another thing for someone who's looks very aesthetically pleasing to say, y'all just got to eat a little bit better, and here's what I do just to eat better and be healthier. And so I think that's a net benefit. It'd be one thing if he was, and there's been a lot of Instagram celebs that are totally juiced out, that are selling diet plans and coaching and training programs, saying, hey, you can look like me. Here's my training program. He's not doing that. He's just saying, guys, get the crap out of your diet, eat more real food, and you'll improve your health. And here's how you should sleep. And here's how you should do these various things. So overall, I think it's a net benefit. But since so many people are asking this question, I wanted to do this video and just break it down. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments, friends. As always, thank you for watching. You know what to do. Hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Thank you for subscribing, and we'll catch you in a future video down the road. Bye now.